Private Practice, the spin-off that had everything. So what went wrong? Private Practice premiered to more than 14 million viewers. Let that number sink in for a moment. Today, a network drama pulling even half that audience would be considered a massive success. Critics were ready, fans were curious, and ABC believed they had just launched the next television powerhouse. This wasn't some experimental series hoping to find an audience. It was born from a juggernaut. Grey's Anatomy wasn't just popular, it was dominating television. Ratings were enormous. The cultural footprint was undeniable. Water cooler conversations revolved around it, and expanding that universe felt less like a gamble and more like the obvious next step. At the center of this expansion was a character viewers already trusted. Dr. Addison Montgomery. Elegant, composed, emotionally layered. She entered Grey's Anatomy in one of the most unforgettable moments in modern TV history, walking into Seattle Grace, introducing herself, and instantly changing the trajectory of multiple storylines. She could have easily been written as the villain. Instead, audiences saw humanity, pain behind the perfection, regret beneath the confidence, strength wrapped in vulnerability. Kate Walsh didn't just play Addison, she made her impossible to ignore. So when talk began about giving Addison her own series, it made perfect sense. On paper, Private Practice had everything working in its favor. A beloved character, a built-in fan base, the creative force of Shonda Rhimes, heavy network promotion, and early ratings most shows would envy. By every traditional television metric, this show should have been untouchable. So why is it rarely mentioned today among the greatest medical dramas? Why does it live somewhat quietly in the shadow of the show that created it? And perhaps the biggest question of all, how does a series that started this strong slowly drift out of the cultural spotlight? Because make no mistake, Private Practice was not a failure. It ran for 6 seasons, produced over 100 episodes, maintained solid viewership. Most television shows would dream of that lifespan. And yet, somewhere between its promising debut and its understated finale, something shifted. Was it the tone? The storytelling? The cast dynamic? Did audiences want something different? Or was it simply impossible to compete with the gravitational pull of Grey's Anatomy? To understand what really happened, we have to go back to the moment this spin-off was born. Television spin-offs are notoriously unpredictable. For every success story, there are multiple quiet disappointments. A familiar character doesn't guarantee loyalty. A recognizable brand doesn't promise longevity. Audiences are far more selective than networks sometimes expect. But Private Practice entered the television landscape with a powerful advantage: curiosity. The show was introduced through what the industry calls a backdoor pilot, an episode of Grey's Anatomy that subtly set the stage for Addison's new life. Suddenly, the rain-soaked intensity of Seattle gave way to the sunlit calm of Los Angeles. Ferry boats were replaced with palm trees. Emergency trauma shifted toward holistic care. Even the emotional energy felt different. Grey's thrived on urgency. Private Practice leaned into reflection. Instead of the relentless pace of a surgical hospital, the new setting, oceanside wellness, emphasized connection, ethics, and deeply personal patient stories. It wasn't trying to replicate Grey's, it was trying to complement it, and that distinction mattered. When Private Practice officially premiered in 2007, sampling was massive. Over 14 million viewers tuned in. But premiere numbers can be deceptive. Curiosity brings viewers in. Consistency keeps them there. After the initial surge, ratings settled into a range between roughly 8 and 11 million viewers, still very strong for network television at the time. Not Grey's Anatomy numbers, but numbers most dramas would celebrate. So from a purely statistical standpoint, Private Practice was working. But television success isn't measured by ratings alone. It's measured by cultural conversation. And this is where the story becomes more complicated. Grey's Anatomy generated moments people couldn't stop talking about. The bomb episode, the ferry crash, the plane disaster. Private Practice, by contrast, rarely produced that kind of national television moment. Instead, it specialized in quieter, emotional storytelling. For some viewers, that was exactly the appeal. For others, it felt less urgent, less addictive, less impossible to miss. And television, especially network television, has always rewarded the shows viewers feel they must watch live. One of the smartest creative decisions the series made was refusing to turn Addison into a carbon copy of her Seattle self. Instead of freezing her in time, the show allowed her to evolve. We saw her question her choices, her relationships, her desire for motherhood, her understanding of love. Addison wasn't chasing perfection anymore. She was chasing meaning. And that gave the series emotional credibility. But it also subtly shifted the tone away from high-octane drama toward introspection. Some fans embraced that maturity. Others missed the adrenaline. The supporting cast played a major role in defining the show's identity. Unlike Grey's, which thrived on large ensembles, Private Practice felt more intimate. Characters were deeply interconnected. Their personal lives frequently collided with professional decisions. Friendships blurred into romances. Ethical dilemmas became deeply personal. And oceanside wellness began to feel less like a workplace and more like a complicated family. This intimacy was one of the show's greatest strengths, but it also created one of its biggest challenges, because intimacy can sometimes limit scale. Grey's felt enormous. Private Practice felt contained. Still, when Private Practice worked, it worked beautifully. The show tackled topics many medical dramas avoided: reproductive rights, addiction, mental health, infidelity, faith, parenthood, moral ambiguity. These weren't simple cases resolved in 42 minutes. They lingered. They unsettled. They sparked conversation. Kate Walsh remained the show's anchor throughout. Holding a spin-off together is no easy task. Viewers must believe the character deserves that spotlight. Walsh delivered warmth without losing authority, strength without sacrificing vulnerability. But here's an uncomfortable television truth. Sometimes a character is extraordinary within an ensemble, yet feels less electric when positioned at the absolute center. Not because the actor lacks talent, but because ensemble energy creates friction, and friction creates drama. Grey's Anatomy thrived on that friction. Private Practice often shows emotional resonance instead. Another factor shaping perception was timing. Private Practice arrived during an intensely competitive era of television. Prestige cable was rising. Audience expectations were shifting rapidly. Simply being very good was no longer enough to dominate the conversation. You had to feel essential. And while Private Practice built a loyal audience, it rarely felt culturally unavoidable. Then there was the unavoidable comparison. Fair or not, every episode lived in Grey's shadow. Spin-offs almost always do. Instead of being evaluated on their own terms, they are measured against the original. Yet surviving 6 seasons suggests something important. The show didn't collapse. It sustained. ABC clearly saw value. And creatively, the writers were given space to deepen the storytelling rather than chase shock value. In fact, one could argue Private Practice aged gracefully. As seasons progressed, emotional stakes grew richer. Characters became more dimensional. Relationships gained weight. The show understood itself more clearly, which makes its ending feel less like a cancellation and more like a deliberate closing chapter. So what ultimately defined Private Practice? Not explosive highs, not dramatic collapse, but steady, thoughtful storytelling that prioritized emotional intelligence over spectacle. And perhaps that is why, years later, the show occupies such an interesting space in television memory. Not forgotten, not iconic, but respected, a quiet success. The kind that doesn't scream for attention, yet earns lasting appreciation from those who experienced it. Because sometimes success isn't about dominating the cultural conversation. Sometimes it's about building something meaningful and letting it resonate long after the final episode fades to black. Private Practice may never have matched Grey's Anatomy in scale, but it never needed to. It told its own story, on its own terms, and in doing so, proved that not every television legacy has to be loud to matter.